Welcome to Outside Michigan. I'm Russ Martin, and maybe you can see around me here, maybe not. We're getting our first big snowstorm of the season here in extreme southern Michigan. 6 to 8 inches possibly today, tonight, and early tomorrow. And with that in mind, I'm planning an outing for this weekend, so I thought maybe I'd talk a little bit about a couple of things. I'm going to do a series here on a couple of items that I like to have with me. Some of them are basic that everybody wants to have with them, and some are things that are sort of a preference. And I'm going to start out in this first video. I'm going to talk about my knives, so stay tuned. Anybody that's into bushcraft or wilderness survival, any of that, knows that the knife is the most basic tool and the most important tool that you're going to take into the woods with you, whether it's winter, summer, spring, or fall. A knife is hard to fake. You know, you can improvise a lot of things, shelter being among those things, but a knife is tough to fake. And I usually carry three. In fact, almost always carry the same three knives into the woods. This is a K-Bar Johnson Adventure blade. It's a effort from the two outfits. It's called the Bacon Maker. I got a review of this from last winter, an outing, the first time I took this out on my channel, and it's kind of crappy. I did it on my cell phone, so probably going to take that one down and just kind of re-review right here. This is a great knife. It's big. If you're not into big knives, that blade is a good 7 inches long, I think. If you're not into big knives, you can get away with, with half that blade and do plenty with it. I like this because it does away with the need for a chopping instrument for some of the smaller stuff. Now, I usually carry an axe out with me because I like to take down some big trees and have plenty of thick firewood to kind of burn through the night. But as far as taking down smaller things, building a shelter, this thing serves as a hatchet. It's razor sharp. It's easy to get sharp. Blade's a little tarnished right now, but that'll change when I put this through the sharpener before I head out this weekend. And it's really a comfortable knife to carry. Full tang, just about indestructible. That blade's 1/8 of an inch thick right there, and the tang all the way up through there. Nothing really special about it. I mean, it doesn't have any extra doodads or anything, but it is a really good, solid knife. High carbon blade, coated, and it's served me very well over the last year. From camping and hiking out locally here on state land. I took it through the Alleghenies, down the Pine River. It's been with me through all of that and has not let me down. And price-wise, I don't know the exact amount that my wife paid for this. She got it for Christmas in 2011 for me, but it seems like it's for the price. It's a very good knife. She told me it was less than $100. I bet it was probably quite a bit less than that. But now this knife, the Johnson Adventure blades, and they make another one that's called the Potbelly, which has got a wider blade, shorter, I believe, and wider. But both of them come with this sheath, which has a pouch for extras, and they come with this blade right here, this pack blade. I forget what they call it. It's got a name, but that right there is a great little knife for skinning. Stainless steel, made in China. It's not quite as nice as the Bacon Maker, which is made right here in the USA, but it's got that handhold right there, and it's a good knife for skinning. Like if you're working on small game, a lot of times I'll use this for cutting my paracord when I'm building the shelter, and it really comes in handy for some of the smaller jobs where the bigger knife or the Bacon Maker might be a bit cumbersome. This one really comes in handy. If I had to choose one knife to go into the woods with, it would be this one. But as long as I've got this knife piggybacked on there, that's what it's called, a piggyback knife, I'm all set. And then I carry one more just because it has sentimental value to me. That is a Case Sodbuster Jr. Now, I tried to find a regular Sodbuster, the full size, because that's what my grandpa carried for as long as I can remember. When he died, the blade on that knife was quite a bit wider and longer than this. It's a full size, same shape but bigger. But when he died, the blade on that knife was maybe 3/8 of an inch thick. He had used it so much and sharpened it so much that it really, he got his use out of it, and he carried it probably for 35, 40 years. And it was a great knife, and it had a little some sentimental value. Not sure what happened to it when he passed away. Probably went to my uncle, I would imagine, which is where it should go. But I found this at Lowe's home improvement store, 20 bucks. It's razor sharp, easy to sharpen, stays sharp, and it really is a great pocket knife. And if I had to just use one knife, I could get away with this one. I don't like the fact that it's not a lock blade, but you know, you could get a lot of use out of that knife right there. Get a lot done with it. Now, one of the other things I like about the K-bar is this pouch right here, and this one needs replenished, but you can essentially carry the 5 C's in some form or another right here in this pouch. And again, I'm not, you know, like my mission statement says on my channel, I'm not really a survivalist. I like to think that I could survive. I think that survival comes down to having really good, keen skills in the woods, being good at, and not being afraid of being in the woods. I've been lost before. I've been in situations. I tipped over a kayak and found myself possibly stranded in a gorge for a while. What ended up happening is my buddy Dave happened to figure out that I wasn't behind him anymore, and we got out. I lost my paddle. But I've been in those situations. If you don't panic, you know, and you've got a few basic tools, you know, that's survival, if you ask me. And that's what I think survival is about. Not really a survivalist, but I think that if you're going to go into the woods, you ought to have some skills. But now what I've got in here is basic stuff. Ferro rod still works. It's broken. Got dropped in the rocks and it's broken, but it still works. I'm going to replace that. So I got my combustion, and I need to replace the my cotton balls with wax in there, which I usually carry a small plastic baggie, a double baggie, so it doesn't get ripped and get wet. But I usually carry that in there. I've got cover right here, space blanket, cordage. I've got a little bit left. I stuffed it into here. Typically what I do before I head out, I'll get more cordage and I wrap it through here and then through these holes, and then I'll go around and I can get 75, 80, maybe even 100 feet if I wanted to of cordage on there, and it'll only stick up about that much. And this sheath is so big, you know, it's actually a nice way to carry cordage. It's a pain in the butt to take it off, but it's a nice way to carry it so that it's there if ever I get in a situation. I like to think that, you know, when I've got this properly stocked, which I don't at the moment, before I head out Friday I will. When I've got this properly stocked, if I were to step away from camp without my backpack and get lost and be out for a night, I could get by with what I can carry in here. I even carry often a little bit of a square of aluminum foil that can be folded into a container if you need it. So you've got cordage, cutting, cover, combustion, and with the aluminum foil there's a container. I wouldn't want to try to live very long that way, but it's enough to get the job done. And those are my knives. In the next video, I'll take a look at my fire kit. Thanks for watching. Well, next up in this series, I'm going to talk about my fire kit a little bit. Mine's not as well developed as some guys out there. Some guys really thought theirs out really well. I have some basic elements in mine, and keep them in that little pouch right there. That can be clipped onto my pack with a carabiner. Usually carry it down in the bottom of my pack so that it's protected down there, and I always know where it's at. And we'll talk about this next. Like I said, my fire kit's pretty basic. This is a cheapo pouch that I got 3 of them that come with a carabiner. I keep my first aid kit in one, fishing stuff in the other, and then they range in size. This is the largest one, and there's 2 smaller ones. But my kit's pretty basic, not a lot to it. In fact, I should add to it, but right now, as of right now, this kit has not let me down. That's a Coleman magnesium fire starter, which I bought this at Walmart because I couldn't find any of the longer ones, the nicer ones, at a store. I'm not huge for buying online, so that one's kind of worn out. And it started a lot of fires, and it never fails for me. I know it's kind of a cheapy deal, and there are a lot nicer ones out there, but this one, it'll throw some sparks once you get it going. But I'm going to need to replace that, and I'm thinking about checking out the Kodiak, which is a really nice outfit. But there's my, it's never failed to work. My ferro rod striker. I don't use the magnesium because magnesium is a huge pain in the butt, but it is nice to have that to hold on to. that magnesium bar. Other than that, it's kind of, the magnesium to me is kind of worthless. I guess in a real jam, I'd make it work. Cotton balls coated in Vaseline. I need to refill that. And I'll probably add some dryer lint and a couple of other things to the kit, and maybe a couple sticks of fat wood. But right now, I've never had a problem with my kit working for me. And then right here, this is, I've got another video on hand sanitizer, and I stand by it. This is a dual multi-purpose item right here. One, it's flammable. It's 63, I think, percent alcohol, 65% alcohol. It's good for, helping to get the fire going. It's a good accelerant. It's not as good as some things. I also carry a bottle of gasoline antifreeze for my stove, which is a great accelerant. But this sticks, and it works pretty well. It's also good for washing your hands, obviously, and it's good for disinfecting wounds. If you can stand the burn of the alcohol, it doesn't bother me that bad. And that's usually what I use for a wound is alcohol, because I know it's going to kill the bacteria. And of course, my preferred fire starting method is right here. Good old Zippo lighter. My thumb's a little cold, a little tough getting going, but strikes every time as long as I keep it fueled up. Now, if you carry one of these in your pocket for any period of time, if you're familiar with a Zippo, you know that fuel is going to evaporate in a pretty short time. These things, I don't know if you fill it, if it'll last a week without evaporating, depending on the temperature. But I keep it in this waterproof case. This is a cell phone case, and it's not big enough for my cell phone, but this works nice to kind of. What happens is the air inside there, as the fluid evaporates, as the fuel evaporates, the air gets saturated. Then no more can evaporate, and this will hold fuel for a month or longer. I check it before I go out, obviously. Before I hit the woods, I'm going to stoke this thing up and make sure I got plenty of fuel and fill it. But typically, I can count on that being ready to light for a month or more, being in that case right there. When you're in the woods, whether you're out overnight by choice or not, you want to be able to start a fire, and taking a sure means of starting fire into the woods is the important thing to do. It's just as important as having a knife, and these are my way of doing it. And I've never failed to start a fire, rain, shine, snow, or heat. So far, I've never had a problem getting a fire going. Usually, first try. One thing you gotta do is practice. But that's my fire kit there. I know there are others out there that are a lot better, that are more thought out. But that's what I prefer to carry into the woods. Thanks for watching. Next up in my preferred tools series is my axe. That's a Fisker's X150. I call it a small forest axe because it works just fine. It's plenty small. I need a sheath for it. This works though. This makes it easy to hang that through the loop on my pack and get it out into the woods. This is a great axe for the price. I know a lot of guys prefer the wood handle, the European axes, Granfors Brooks, and those other ones. I can't afford 120 bucks for an axe, so I bought this thinking, my mentality on that was, well, I'll buy it now and save up for something else. I don't necessarily want anything else. This axe stays razor sharp. It's comfortable. It's lightweight. And it hasn't failed me. If you want to take down a good-sized tree, hack it up and have fire all night long. I typically take this when I'm sledding in the woods. When I'm snow walking, I take the sled and I can take more gear. Those are the best times for me because those are the worst weather, the worst kind of weather. You can go out in a snowstorm. You've got your axe, you got your bow saw, take down some trees, process them up. You can do it relatively quick with the right tools, and then you throw them in the sled. And here's my jet sled right over there. I take everything out in that, but get everything processed up, and you can spend a really comfortable night in the woods and not waste too much energy if you've got the right tools for taking down the trees. Now, this thing takes a deeper bite than any axe I've ever swung in my life. You know, I grew up in a house where we burned firewood, and we did a lot of our own processing our own wood. We cut our own, we split our own. I've used splitting axes that didn't bite splitting mauls that didn't bite like this one does, and it's lightweight. It's just got a really nice shaped edge on it. Right here, these are the keys to a comfortable night in the winter woods. Take the tree down, chop the tree up, burn the tree. It's that simple. You know, you can use this to take down trees. That's fine. Smaller ones, I will use it for that. But when it comes to taking down something 6, 8, 10 inches, I can take it down pretty quick with this, quickly, safely, and plus I get out some of my pent-up energy. I really like swinging the axe. I don't know, maybe it's the boy in me, but I do like taking the tree down here and there. Of course, nothing alive. I won't take anything alive down. The blades for this saw are pretty cheap. You can get a few of them for just maybe for under 10 bucks. And there are ways, I won't get into it in this video too much, but there are ways, if you take a look at those teeth, how they're offset from each other. If you've got a good multi-tool and your saw gets to the point where it's starting to cut a thinner kerf and binding up a whole lot, take your multi-tool and just bend those teeth back the way that they were originally bent, just a tiny little bit, just enough to offset them so that they cut a wider kerf. And you know, that's one maintenance thing for this kind of a saw. But in the winter woods, especially if I'm sledding and I can take a little bit more gear with me, I want to be comfortable. I work a lot. I don't get a lot of time off, and so when I'm in the woods, I like to be comfortable. I'm going to take this and this, and I'm going to make myself comfortable and warm and have fun doing it. Thanks for watching this installment of Bushcraft Tools. I think that's going to pretty much do it. I've gone through my pack on earlier videos. Don't really need to get too much into some of those things, because everybody's, you know, a lot of you guys have really good ideas, better than I do, when it comes to your containers and things like that. But just thought I'd pass along some things that have really made the woods more fun for me, including my knives, my fire kit, and my axe and saw. Thanks for watching my series on my preferred tools for bushcraft. If you've got any comments, that's great. Now, I know, like I said, these are my preferences. A lot of guys with more experience than me have much better ideas, and even some guys with the same or less experience, you know, maybe have an answer that I don't have. These are the tools that I prefer to use. These are the ones that I'm comfortable with, and they're the ones that get the job done for me. I appreciate you watching. One thing I'd like to say, you know, I'm not a survival guy. When I think of survival, you know, I think of being out there with nothing and you know, making do with what's there. For me, a good woodsman should never be in a quote-unquote survival situation. You know what you need, keep it with you, and have it at all times. Survival, to me, it's about keen wood skills. But I'm not an expert on that. I have had some experience. I do spend as much time in the woods as I can, and I do try to have an adventure every now and then, and it usually you know, usually I bumble my way through it, and I get through, and I come out, and I've learned something at the other end. So if I can, you know, if you can learn something from these videos, great. I've learned a lot from watching guys like Dave Pearson over at Really Big Monkey 1, Dave Canterbury, my buddy Dave Turner at Dave Turner at David's Passage here on YouTube, Bushcraft Barton's. There's a whole lot of great channels on wilderness survival. Morris Kohansky is a great guy to watch if you want to learn some ways to be comfortable in the woods. I'm pretty comfortable myself, and I feel good, and I love going out there. But a message that I'd like to get across to all of my viewers is, as much as I like to sit and watch guys like Morris Kohansky and learn from him, Dave Canterbury, and all those guys that I just named, there comes a time when you really got to get out there and just learn for yourself. Take the basics, you know, take baby steps. If you're not experienced in the woods, spend a night go to a campground or go out on state land and maybe go 100 yards off the road. Go where you can see your car. Get out there, set up your camp, spend the night until you get comfortable. But don't ever be afraid. If you've got the knowledge and some common sense, don't ever be afraid to get out in the woods. A good woodsman has every reason in the world to respect nature, but no reason whatsoever to ever fear nature. So, you know, watch, learn, but above all else, get out there, spend some time, because we can't convey the experience on video like you're going to have it when you get out in the woods. So get out there. Okay, in this series on bushcraft tools, my preferred bushcraft tools, we've talked about axes, knives, saws, my fire kit. I wasn't planning on covering a whole lot of other things, but what I did decide, I thought the axe video would be the last one, but I think I'm going to do one real quick here. In fact, I know I am, because I'm doing it, on sharpening. This isn't going to be a trainer on how to sharpen your tools, or what's the best way to do it, you know, before you head into the woods, but a couple of items that you can take into the woods with you, or just leave on your workbench, and get a quick edge, especially when you need to do something real quick, like in the field. If you're gutting your deer, you're processing your deer in the field, you want to put a quick edge on your blade. You know, you're taking down some trees, you want to put a quick edge on your axe. I'll show you a couple of things that I found that actually work quite well. Okay, this is a Fisker's brand sharpener there. It's designed for sharpening their axes. If you can see inside there, if that'll focus, there's a little wheel that's got a groove in it, and it's turned sideways. The slot, of course, runs 90 degrees to the handle, and what that does is forces the blade against that stone that's in there. You get it in there, and then you just hold it parallel, run that back and forth. And what I found, even with my pocket knife, I found that will real quick put a nice keen edge on there. On this axe, it's plenty of edge, plenty of tool to resharpen it and get your edge back for chopping your wood. For a knife now, you're going to want to, once you run that through here a few times, once you run a knife through this, you're going to want to process it a little further, maybe on a ceramic rod or whatever. But even kitchen knives, you know. And again, I'm not endorsing Fiskars or anything. Just so happens we have a dealer pretty close by, and the guy that sold me the axe said try this, and it works. And then this I carry in with my bacon maker, and I pulled it out when I was showing you the knife, but I didn't go through my sharpener. This I got at Walmart for like $3.50, $4. It's not the best sharpener in the world, but for real quick sharpening in the field, it actually works pretty well. I was surprised. It's got carbide jaws right there. Run that through and really kind of get a rough sharpening on it. Then find ceramic here, and that'll take it down, and that'll make, especially a thinner blade like a fillet knife, a pocket knife, that'll make it shaving sharp actually pretty quick. Don't mind my gloves here; they're just keeping my hands warm. They're not the coolest looking things, but by God, they're made out of wool sweaters, and I've never owned a warmer pair of mittens. Anyways, right there's a couple of things. That weighs next to nothing. If you've got room for an extra piece of gear, of course everything in my pack weighs next to nothing, and by the time I get it together, my pack weighs 75 pounds. So, you know, you got to think about it. Personally, I prefer to take that one into the woods, leave this one on the bench in my man cave there, and I can get a good edge on whatever I need to with this right here. Now, I can't sharpen my axe with that, obviously, so I like to get it sharpened up before I head out. But right there's just a couple items you can use. If you know, sharpening your tools, it's something you ought to think about. If you're going to be out for an extended period, more than a couple of days, you're swinging that knife and you're chopping, you know, you're chopping through trees, you're skinning game, you're doing whatever, it's going to lose its edge eventually, and that'll put an edge back on it real quick, and it doesn't cost much of anything, like $4. Thanks for watching.